As the year comes to the end, people are often very quick to start setting goals for the next year. However, one thing that many people miss is actually evaluating the year that has been and everything that you have achieved and done so that you can properly set these goals that are relevant to you and how you're actually performing now for the upcoming year. In this video, I'll be taking you through how I evaluate my year, which in this case happens to be 2024. However, you can apply this however many years in the future you're watching this, or if you want to evaluate a quarter, half a year, a month, for example, I typically do the same thing. So let's dive into it and let me explain how I evaluate my year, and feel free to follow along. I'm a big fan of these Lectrum 197 notebooks with dotted lines. You can use whichever notebook you want, but these are just the ones I prefer. They're very nice. They got a, professional, solid feel to them. I've linked them down below if you want to check them out. It supports me a little bit. If you like these types of videos and want to support a small YouTuber, if you buy one from there, it will support me a little bit. But now let's open this up and let me show you the spreads for evaluating your year. So first of all, I get this set up quite simply in any notebook. Now I'm using this Lectrum one that I just touched upon. And what I first do is I set up what I am proud of during this year. And this is a simple list where I just reflect on and I look back at all of the things that I have achieved and done during this past year that I'm proud of, the things that I'm going to be remembering, the things that I'm going to be referring to when I'm thinking, okay, how can I take what I learned last year and apply this to something new in a year or 10 years times. These are the things that got to be monumental, and they're not just the things such as I had breakfast 3 times a week, but rather they're things which took some time and took some effort that you're actually proud and happy to show off to the world. So some of the examples here from me are, for example, working well on my personal brand. I've uploaded on YouTube at least 2 times per week pretty much the whole year. I built Palmgren, which is my brand of rope bags, completely from scratch, and that's now a worldwide brand available in resellers all over the world, which I think is pretty cool. I launched Venture Pals together with Joel at the beginning of the year. I have started working on and gotten quite far on Parenter, which is another app that I'm building. I have implemented a lot of new processes for Arbetsbutiken, and I have also learned a lot of new things, such as building Shopify pages. I've learned about Webflow. I've learned about ads. I've learned about new processes such as inventory management, etc. So a lot of those new skills that have come in handy that are going to be skill stacked and going to be available to use in combination with other skills in the future. So take a moment to reflect on all the things that you've done and the things that you're proud of, and write them down on a page so that you can actually take a look at a list of everything that you have accomplished, and based on this, use this kind of as a schema for what you think is doable in the next period of time, which in this case then is next year. After this, I like to take a little bit more of a reflection, and I write a page that is top memories. So this doesn't necessarily have to be professional. Now for this video, I'm keeping it professional just because, one, this is a professional YouTube channel, and also I don't want to be sharing all of my private details on this. So I'm keeping this strictly business for now, but if you want to do this for your business, if you want to do this for your health, if you want to do this for your personal life, then this works completely the same. But I take a page and I write down my top memories. So for example, some of the things that I remember this year was the first order of the Palmgren bags. So if you don't know, the Palmgren bags is a brand of rope bags that I developed and built this year, completely from scratch. And I think it was in April, I got my first order for, I think, 35 of these bags, which is not a massive order, but it felt so good after having worked for months on the development and testing it, etc. Someone in Canada, a retailer in Canada, actually ordered a relatively large set of bags to sell in their store to North American customers. And there was just something about that feeling that I still remember. I remember where I was. I was outside my girlfriend's place in the car, and I got the email saying, yeah, we'll take 35. And I was like, what? Now this is real, for real. So that's one of the memories that I really cherish from this year, and that I will continue to cherish, and that will be good to remember and keep a track of that feeling so you don't lose it. And that's why I think it's good to remember this and reinforce some of these memories. Another memory, for example, is uploading the first Parenter version. I was quite excited about this because I did it in a relatively short period of time. Now we've obviously made a lot of changes to Parenter, the app, a lot of UI changes, and added a lot of functionality. I remember the first app that I built that had like the basic class management, event management, and a chat. Didn't look as good as now, but that wasn't really on me. But I still remember pushing that first one to the iOS App Store and being quite proud that I managed to do this in such a short period of time, or for a relatively low rate compared to what a traditional agency would charge for such an app. I also remember the Venture Pals launch day. This was both a moment of pride, but also a little bit moment of letdown. One, it was pride because we launched this, we became Product Hunt third product of the day, or second maybe it was, but ranked quite high on Product Hunt. We got quite a lot of new users on the first day. Turned out that a lot of these users from Product Hunt are not super serious, but They're just there to test out the app and get you to vote for their product on Product Hunt. And also we had a small bug on the first day, which we managed to solve though, but it was an exciting and it was a dynamic, fun day. And that's just one of those things that I also remember and cherish from 2024. So take some of this and write maybe 10, 15, 12, 8, whatever, couple of the memories from this year that you will remember and that you will cherish for a period to come, so that you can also look back at this and think when you're, for example, feeling demotivated or undisciplined, as we'd rather like to call it, you can look back at these things like, damn, I've actually done all these things. And when I read this, I can attach this letters on this page to the feeling I was feeling them, because this is one of those core memories that I will remember for a long period of time. This can also help you set a perspective of, okay, this is the stuff that I remember. What did I not remember? These are the things that I remembered, the things that were actually important to me and made me feel good. How can I base my goals for the next year on these things that I actually remember and that actually had an impact on me from this year, so that you just don't go about setting goals that will be meaningless and that you will not remember in a year's time. After this, I just like to do a simple scores page. This can be how advanced or how simple you want it. I'm making it quite simple here, and I'm splitting it into 3 different scores. So we're doing business, we're doing personal, and we're doing health. And then I'm just taking a general score for this category. How happy am I with all of the business ventures that I have done? Maybe I give that an 8 out of 10 this year for me. I felt like I had a good year of momentum. However, I also felt as if I could have gotten more done than I actually did. I guess this is a feeling that you'll always have to some extent, but it's about being proud of what you've done, but never satisfied with what you've done. And for personal, I'm leaving this out here again. I had a pretty good personal year, but I won't dive into those details. And health, I like to break this down on, for example, gym, sleep, etc. So I can look at this and say, okay, if there's anything here that I feel really bad about or feel really good about. If it's something that I feel really bad about, then I'll take this with me into the next year and work on that specifically. If it's something that I feel really good about, then this was really good. Maybe we don't need to put as much focus on it, or maybe we want to keep this exactly where it's at right now. After this, I create a short page or a short reflection on the habits that I had this year, and then the habits that I want to bring into next year. But the habits that I had this year that I want to bring into next year, for example, are the view that you can do anything. You just say yes to it, and then you'll figure it out as you go. This doesn't mean that I'm going to say yes to every opportunity that I come across, but it's gonna mean that I say yes to every opportunity that I come across that I want to do, irrespective of if I think that I can do it or not. I can say yes to it if I want to do it and then figure it out as I go. Another one is micro urgency, macro patience. This is kind of a piece of philosophy that I've been living by for quite some time, and that is that if you want to do something great and if you want to achieve something big, this is going to take years. It's going to take a long time. It's going to take 10, 15, 25 years even before you actually see something start to pay off. All the stuff that you see online of I'm 22 and I just retired my parents or whatever, all those videos, they do happen for sure. They do happen, and these people are incredible, but this is not going to be the standard path for everyone, and don't let what you see online deceive you. In the long term, in the macro, being patient. I know that what I'm doing today is not going to pay off for another decade or so, but it's also the micro urgency in that I'm doing everything that I can today to ensure that the macro, i.e. the long term, will actually be the way that I want it to be. And that may mean, for example, okay, today I need to spend 12, 14, 16 hours working, but I know I'm not going to see any real long-term results from this until a decade ago, when I've stacked multiple weeks, months, years of this type of work on top of each other. After this, we move on to what we think was not good. For example, in this year, I think I was spread a little bit too thin in some periods of time. There were some periods where I was working on 3 apps. I was launching my Palmgren rope bag brand. I was spending 10 hours a day in Arbeidsprediken. I wasn't sleeping a lot, for example, and this means that not anything of what I did actually was 10 out of 10, or it wasn't as good as it could have been. It would have been much better if I spread this out and maybe worked on 2 things at a time and said, okay, this is what I'm doing for 8 weeks. And I think this is something that I'm going to be bringing into 2025 in my case then, to try to allocate more periods of time to particular periods of work. So for example, maybe in February, that focus there is going to be a Venture Pals rebrand, for instance. And March is going to be another app. And January is going to be only Parenter, for example. And then obviously I'll have to do Arbeidsprediken in between there. Another one for me was that I could have been a lot more detail-oriented with some of the things that I did. I have done a couple of smaller or some larger errors due to just being sloppy in regards to details. So for example, for the Palmgren, again, bringing this up, because there are just so many good examples and learnings from this particular venture this year. But the Palmgren rope bags, during the test run, there was one seam there that was stitched just once. And this was the handle that's meant to carry 60 meters of rope, which typically weighs around 8 kilos or like 15, 16 pounds. So takes quite a bit of weight, and it's also being yanked around and pulled on. So this needs to be quite reinforced. However, this had just one seam, which means that we have had a couple of bags, I think like 8 or 10 globally out of a few hundred. So it's not a massive issue, but it's definitely an issue that have actually broken. And what we have to do there is that we have to ourselves get a sewing machine, and we have to stitch them up to reinforce this. And if I had just been a little bit more detail oriented and looked at this in more detail when I got the samples, this could have been prevented. Finally, I like to do a page of takeaways. And takeaways is just general reflections from the year. It can be very broad. For example, one of my takeaways is I need to eat and sleep a little bit better than I have done this year. There's been quite a bit of like processed done meals that I should rather do meal prepping. And I also have had periods where I haven't slept more than 5 hours a night, which is in the long term not viable. And then some other things. For example, the world is a playground. Some of the things just makes me feel that world is a playground. For example, for the online store that I run, Arboridsbutiken, we had a winter promo where, if you've probably seen this video, where it's like, Merry Chrysler, Merry Chrysler. And one of the promo codes I used was, okay, if you use promo code Merry Chrysler 2024, you get a free set of Christmas ornaments in your order. And just those things, they're the small things that make this grind and make this everyday fun, that you can just implement these things, and people from all over the world then end up using this Merry Chrysler discount code on the site. And it's just one of those things that if you can implement those small playful things throughout, it's going to make everything so much more fun. But this is just a set of general takeaways that you write down that you can then use to set your goals for the next upcoming year. So some of the takeaways of things you don't want to do, and some of the things that you want to do, i.e. a summary of everything that you reflected upon. So this is how I, in a brief YouTube video, evaluate my year. Obviously, there needs to be a lot more thinking about this, and you need to spend a lot more time than you've just seen this short video do. Spend some time, reflect on these particular things, write them down, and once you've done that, you're quite set to get to working on your goals for the next period of time that you're going to be evaluating. So if you want to do that, I have a video for that, which is bullet journaling. It's a method that I've been using for quite some time. So definitely check that out. I'll link that down below, or here or there, or whatever you link on these YouTube videos. And if you like this type of content, feel free to subscribe. If you want to cop one of these journals, then please use my code. It does help me support me to make these videos. And I will see you in the next one. Peace.